This is Vivica from the Nourished Caveman and the Healing Foods Method. And for those of you who don't know me yet, I am a holistic practitioner. I'm a nutritionist focusing on the ketogenic diet and hormone rebalancing for women. I'm hoping to provide the kind of information that you need to support you in your health journey and to give you ideas, clues, tips, practical insights so that you can become your own healer and you can become a person, a woman who is empowered in many different ways in which to support our own health. Today we're going to talk about menopause. And we've been talking about menopause quite a bit. I gotta say it's a bit of a selfish topic here because that's been my reality for the last year. The transition to menopause has been an interesting one, even for me as a health practitioner, as a nutritionist, as an expert in the ketogenic diet. I don't know if you have been following me for some time, but I was one of the first promoters of the ketogenic diet, especially for women. So today we're going to talk about menopause, and please get your questions ready. I want to cover some important points here. So it's kind of like the what. First of all, what happens in menopause? Let's understand a little bit better what menopause really is. And then for me, one of the most important things is why. The why, second point is the why. For me, it's a big point because once we understand why we are experiencing those symptoms, then we can actually do something real about it and not just the usual band-aid solution and, fix the symptoms and not the root cause. So enough with the band-aid, right? Let's look at what's really going on. So let's jump in and talk about menopause. So first of all, what is menopause? And I make a nice little list here so we don't forget anything. But the first thing that happens in menopause is that egg production in the ovaries starts winding down in perimenopause, and then it eventually stops, and then your period stop. And then for when it's clinically defined as 1 year after the last period. Hi Julia, Happy New Year to you too. So that's when we are officially in menopause. So the follicles, the eggs are one by one just being used up, and then the egg production stops, number one. The second thing that happens because of that is that we have non-ovulatory cycles. So no more eggs produced, no more periods, because the egg, doesn't need, the whole cycle doesn't need to happen anymore. Because of that, because of the lack of egg production, the hormone profile in your body starts to dramatically change. As you know, the follicle produces estrogen, and the ovaries are producing estrogen and progesterone during that cycle of follicle and egg release. So during menopause, when this hormone production stops, then hormones start to fluctuate and eventually seriously decline. And this decline in hormone production is, we'll talk about it in the why, is one of the root causes of the symptoms. Progesterone levels start going down in perimenopause. This is the first hormone that starts declining. Eventually in menopause, estrogen also starts declining. I talk about this in detail. I talked about it in December. Perimenopause was December's topic. So please look back if you're interested in knowing what sets us up for menopause. Look at the videos from December, and we got into a lot of detail there. So forgive me, today I'm gonna need a lot of water. And another very important part that is often overlooked is that with the declining hormones from the ovaries, these are kind of irregular periods, missing ovulations, will lead to dysregulation. So the communication between the ovaries and the brain, the control center in the brain, becomes dysregulated, meaning your pituitary, your hypothalamus are going to be like, what's going on here? This is what is supposed to happen and is not happening. 1 month there is more progesterone, 1 month less, the estrogen suddenly is dropping, and your brain becomes literally confused. When you add to that dysregulation the one of thyroid hormones and adrenal hormones, and we'll talk about that in the why in a second, but dysregulation really happens. And this is one of the main issues that lead to persistent symptoms, and a lot of the problems like, I forgot your name, it was Winston, just mentioned that 44 and postmenopausal still having a lot of hormonal issues. Well, many of those issues could come from the dysregulation from the brain to the body, to the actual glands and organs. Now, let's talk about the why. This is my favorite part because this is where the rubber meets the tire. The rubber meets the road. So, why do we get symptoms? So, we talked about the symptoms plenty, but you all very well know what some of the most common symptoms of menopause would be. The hot flash being like the poster child of menopause, and then there are the night sweats. Depression is a really big one. Mood imbalances, short-temperedness, confusion, brain fog, like lack of motivation and sensitivity to stress, just to call out a few. So why are these symptoms happening? So my first on the list of whys, my number one was chronic hormone imbalance. So again, we're leading back to perimenopause. Like, how long have your hormones been dysregulated? And this, if there are any on you, oh, Becca. Hi, Becca. So nice to see you here. Thank you for showing up. So when you are in perimenopause, this is the time where you set up your good menopause. But once we are already here, let's say you're already been in menopause for maybe a year or 2 or 3 or maybe even 10, and you're here watching me today, what has led up to your symptoms is not something that just started a month ago or a year ago. It started through your reproductive years. So through the reproductive years and the hormone dysregulation of those reproductive years, that's where the symptoms begin. Hi, Tammy, let me see. Can you still have symptoms postmenopausal? Oh, yeah. Even when blood work shows that you're in postmenopause? Absolutely, yes. And I am going to explain in a second why that happens. It's, there are certain foundational pieces that even when you have reached, postmenopause and everything should be kind of like leveled out, hormone-wise and functioning with a new rhythm, if you don't address these foundational pieces, the symptoms will not resolve. So we'll touch on one right now. How about that, Tammy? Adrenal fatigue. So I undiagnosed adrenal fatigue through perimenopause throughout your life, and maybe you even had diagnosed adrenal fatigue and maybe you already did something about it 5 years ago, but then you forgot all about it and you thought that, oh, it's fixed, it's done, I'm gonna be good. But it was actually still lurking in the shadows. And your adrenals, who had barely recovered from whatever situation you were in perimenopause, and the support you gave them kind of like came back to life. But then menopause started hitting, and then very easily, like bam, the adrenals are back offline, and too much stress, too much overwork of the adrenals, because all the hormonal production that the ovaries don't do anymore now will fall onto the adrenals. So adrenal fatigue, subclinical will be a good definition here, because even though from a medical standpoint, conventional medicine standpoint, adrenal fatigue doesn't even exist. But it, for functional practitioners like me, it will be diagnosed, it will be understood, but sometimes it is subclinical, meaning that we are not able to see it. And I have seen patients who have come to me with cortisol index test, a saliva test that shows your cortisol curves, so the function of your adrenals. And patients have come to me with perfectly normal or very minimal disturbances in their cortisol tests and extremely symptomatic for adrenal fatigue. So how do you explain that? Well, ladies, I think you know already, in the hormone world, nothing is easy. Nothing is just so straightforward that you can boom, make a correlation, because when the adrenals and the ovaries are involved, the thyroid is involved. And we always need to keep this triad correlation in mind, plus again dysregulation. So maybe you fixed your adrenals, but then the correlation between adrenals and your brain controlled pituitary and hypothalamus was not fixed. So the adrenals feel better, they're stronger, they've been supported by adaptogens or whatever you did, but then your brain control center has not been reset. So the signals that your brain is sending to your body are still dysregulated signals. What does it mean? It means that in addition to adrenal support, you need brain function support. And that's very important and quite delicate, honestly, because how do we do that? I'm jumping ahead a little bit. How do we support brain function and regulation? We do it through starting at the gland level, so we will support the adrenals, and then at the same time, or shortly after, once we establish a better base of functioning gland, we need to support the brain with adaptogens again, and also sometimes glandulars, so the extract of the DNA or the whole gland for your pituitary and hypothalamus that will reteach what a healthy cell looks like to your brain, so your brain can produce more healthy cells. And this is kind of beyond what you can do on your own at home, because this is the kind of work that a trained practitioner would do with a woman who has such concerns. Now, the other thing is homeopathics. I use a lot of complex synergistic homeopathic formulas that readdress and reestablish neuroconnections and reestablish the connection between the brain and the different organs, being thyroid, adrenals, or ovaries. So another big root cause of why you get symptoms in menopause is a toxic body. And if you follow me, you probably have heard this until your ears are ready to fall off. But toxicity is one of the main causes for symptoms. In this case, I'm talking about hormone toxicity, especially estrogen toxicity. It's a big one. It's related to the liver and it's related to the environment. So it can come from the foods you have been eating, something like soy. I posted something on Facebook, on this Facebook page last week. It was about the new vegan, what do they call it, super meat or miracle meat or, whatever, wonder meat, wonder burger, it's soy based. And one of those has about 100 times the estrogen that regular meat would have, if not more. And if you eat, exponentially, because hormones are so small and so powerful, eating something like this, meat substitute day in and day out, would bring you thousands of times the amount of estrogen that your body will naturally get if you ate a meat-based diet. That's pretty scary. Talk about estrogen dominance right there. And with all this vegan movement, and, unfortunately, I feel there is a lot of misinformation that fuels the vegan movement. I respect everybody in their choices. I'm not here to bash the vegans like a lot of people do in the keto world or carnivore world. I think it's a big world and there should be respect for everyone's choices. But at the same time, I also think that some real education about what we put into our bodies is necessary. Because soy, yeah, I know, Impossible Burger. Thank you, Tammy. I could never get that word. Yeah, it's information and education are really important right now. So imagine a perimenopausal woman eating something like that, or even eating tofu every day, or every other environmental pollutant that we are not aware of that will come into our body, like scented candles or laundry sheets or laundry detergent. All of those things could be estrogenic, and there could be phytoestrogens or they can be estrogen mimickers, and the estrogens also in our food, especially in the dairy. I have not seen evidence in the studies that I've seen or the analysis that I've seen of meat animal products containing such amount of estrogen or additional added hormones when the animal is properly raised. So that's also concern. Is not just like, oh, I'm going to eat meat, so I'm in the clear. What kind of meat is really important, because you want to make sure that the meat is not, raised on GMO grain that, or soy, because the soy that the cow ate will eventually end up in your body. So we want animals that have been raised on pastures without added injections and hormones and antibiotics and all of that. All that stuff ends up in your body and dysregulates your hormones. So toxicity is real. And how do we combat toxicity? There is only one way, which is supporting the liver and constantly detoxing. Pretty much we're at the point in our world where we constantly need to detox if we want to have a semi-decent hormone balance. The pollutants are just too much. They're unavoidable. They will get in contact with your body. They will get in your body. So detoxing is pretty much the only way that we can help ourselves and get rid of those pollutants, get rid of the extra estrogen so it does not accumulate in our fat cells and doesn't just sit there making everything else pretty much go down the slippery slope. Quick parenthesis, a question about detox. So just in a nutshell, for me in my practice, the way that I do detoxing is supporting the drainage pathways, liver and kidneys. All the detoxification pathways need to be activated and supported so that first of all you are able to detox. Congested liver, congested kidney means that gutter is plugged, the water will not get through, so those toxins will not come out. So unplugging first and then rinsing and flushing. So using herbal products and also food products that support nutrition, support all the different phases of detoxification of the liver. There are 2 phases in the liver and 1 in the intestine. So it's nutritional and then, providing the nutrients through food and supplementation. And then providing specific strategic herbal products usually that help expedite the process. The herbals are always, they kind of act as a medication, but they're a non-toxic medication. Of course, toxicity for those kind of remedies always comes in dosage. They say that every medicine is a poison depending on the dosage. So things that could be poisonous will also be medicinal. Anything can be a poison in the wrong dosage. So let's move on and continue talking about why do we get symptoms in menopause. Toxic body was the last one. Weak immune system. So this is also related to toxicity. It's related to our gut, related to the health of our gut. And that's a really crucial, important point when we do hormone work. We do liver work and we do gut work, because without a well-functioning gut, you're not able to absorb your nutrients, and your gut is related to your brain health, and your gut is related to your immune system. So we need to do gut healing in order to support hormone healing. Systemic inflammation is another big one. I don't really focus on inflammation so much, because in my practice, what I see is that once you start eating well and eating the right things, and once you start detoxing, inflammation just goes away. It's not a question of like having to do specific procedures or protocols for inflammation. The disappearing of inflammation is a byproduct of a foundational work that we do before. And Renee, I'm going to get to you in a second. The last one that is in my list we already talked about is congested liver. And I think that congested liver is probably one of the really big factors in certain symptoms. Hot flashes are very much related to the liver. And yes, they can be a hypothalamic dysregulation symptom, meaning your hypothalamus is like your brain receptors are like going into withdrawal mode because estrogen is dropping so low, and then they're dysregulating because of the lack of estrogen, and therefore are like dysregulating the heat processes. But at the same time, I feel like when the liver is heavily congested or overburdened, then the hot flashes will persist. Because we can try to regulate the brain all day long. If your liver is congested, they won't go away. And at the same time, we can get great results in like reducing hot flashes. It happens to all my patients, every single one of them. We get to a certain level working on the liver, and then it's about finding the right level of brain regulation and hormone balance, which can get pretty tricky, especially when we do advanced work, like we work together for a year or two, and we have done all the preliminary work. And then, another thing that happens in menopause is that hot flashes will come in waves, and they'll come really strong, we'll get rid of them, everything is great, and then 3 months later they start showing up again, and you're like, what am I doing wrong? I'm just doing everything the same. Why is this coming back? Because your liver needs more detoxing, and here's another round of liver detoxing, and then the hormones have changed again, so there might be further regulation. So it's a constant process of keeping us healthy. We wish health would be something that we can achieve. We got it. It's like this perfect crystal. We put it under a glass bell, and there it stays on the shelf, and it's like done. It's kind of like cleaning the house. We wish we cleaned the house. The house is all sparkling and beautiful and organized, and a month later you haven't cleaned the house, and you can see what's going on, and it's disgusting. And you're like, but wait, what happened? I just cleaned the house a month ago. Well, guess what? As you all will know very well who are watching me, we need to keep cleaning the house almost every day or every week at least. So you will clean the house, you will give maintenance to your car, but you think it's unreasonable to detox and maintain your body and clean your body on a regular basis. So we need to start changing that perspective to understand that our body is like the house. And in the same way we clean and maintain and, decorate and make our house pretty and comfortable, we want to do the same to our body so that we can live inside our body in a happy and fulfilled way. So which herbals? And Renee, can you remind me, was this related to adaptogens or was it related to liver detox? Because I was on a roll there and didn't stop to answer your question. So please, if you want to specify to what you are referring, what herbs are you asking about, then I will answer your question. So crucial organ support to eliminate the symptoms or manage the symptoms, eliminate them, hopefully they won't come back or continue managing them. So we need to support the adrenals, we need to support the thyroid, we need to support the ovaries and the liver. And I already talked some about how we do that, but I kind of share this with you in almost every video. I work with whole food supplements, I work with herbs, adaptogens, I work with homeopathics, I do a lot of detoxing, and we work through the diet and the lifestyle. So of course, Keto Paleo, a healing, a therapeutic Keto Paleo for healing, because not all keto is designed for hormone rebalancing, honestly. There are a lot of young people doing keto right now. There are a lot of really popular, really famous young people, like just want to mention people like Keto for Normies. Those guys are huge. They just came up like in the last couple of years, you know, they just started keto and flew with it, shared it with the world. Everybody follows them. They're awesome. They have a lot of good stuff to share, a lot of knowledge. Their diet, I wouldn't eat it. I would not eat it for a day. It's keto. It's not what I would want to put in my body. You know, for a 51-year-old woman like me wanting to stay healthy, that stuff would not work. So as you can see, diet can change depending on where we are, and that's why I'm talking especially to women my age, around my age, because we have a slightly different need than a 30-year-old. When it comes to fertility, we might have slightly different needs as well. So adaptogens can be, there are many different adaptogens. The primary ones would be rhodiola, ashwagandha. It's a really good one. Ashwagandha is very popular, so you can find it widely. Rehmannia is another herb that is very supportive of the adrenal. Licorice is a great one. Now, I need to give you a word of caution here, because like not everything is ideal for everybody. Like some people are very sensitive to ashwagandha, not in a positive way, so you will have reactions. And you know, taking it, just trying different things out can work, cannot work. Usually what happens is that most of my clients start trying things out by themselves, or they go to a doctor, they try things, fix things with the doctor. That doesn't work. They do it by themselves, doesn't work. The doctor cannot help them. Endocrinologist cannot help them. Then they go to a functional medicine doctor who doesn't specialize in hormones. Doesn't go very far. And eventually they end up with me. And it's funny because it took me a few years to realize how come the cases I got were so complex. And that's because like those are the people who have tried everything else and nothing else worked, and then they found me somehow. So I am, you know, pretty much an expert at treating complex cases. I go deeper in my work. I am more, you know, I work one-on-one with clients, so I'm more kind of specialized in difficult cases when nothing else works. But also I want to share my knowledge with you, because I know that I have a lot of really valuable experience, both clinical and book, from studies and experience, like with real people. And that's why I try to share this with you. So empower yourself first. Try it at home first. And then if that doesn't work, and the endocrinologist doesn't work, and the doctor doesn't work, maybe I am the one that will be able to help you. Okay, I think I need one more sip of water before I say bye and give you the chance to see if you have any more questions. I'm really excited. This is the first video of the year. And yeah, 2020 is exciting. I'm really happy about the prospects for this year in, you know, for my work and my personal life. I am about to go on retreat to do some very needed self-regenerating, self-healing. So there in January, there only are gonna be 2 videos. That's why we covered so much stuff today. And then I will be back. I'll be leaving January 14th and then coming back on February 13th, right before Valentine's Day. So let me know if you have any more questions. And thank you so much, all of you who are here watching me and having these conversations with me. If you're new to my channel, please subscribe. If this video is on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel so I publish regularly. You can get more goodies, more videos. If you're a woman and your hormones are driving you crazy, you can always send me an email at vivica@thenourished.caveman.com or go through my blog, thenourished.caveman.com. You can look for my program, The Healing Foods Method. It's a tab on the blog, and it really explains about the program and the kind of work I do with women, the kind of work I do in depth to resolve those complex cases. This is not for everybody, but for some of you, it might be the right choice if you're really at the end of the rope and you need somebody who with a lot of experience and a lot of specialization in female hormones. Have a great rest of your night. Bye, Renee. Bye-bye.